Good morning once again and welcome to the Afia Morning Show this Thursday morning. We hope that you are awake and ready for a brand new day. Now, of course, we know that a lot is being spoken about in Nigeria. Currently, we're seeing talks about the ADC that has been officially launched. We're also seeing plans for Enugu Air that will be launching on Monday. And we're also seeing plans for the Constitution Review public hearing taking place tomorrow and Saturday. So a lot to talk about on today's show. Oji Wachuku is here. Oji, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How you doing?
Great.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of progression. You know, the Constitution Review, long overdue, and also Enugu Air finally is going to be launched, and also ADC. Now we're going to understand or have that permutation or political calculation if this is literally the end of PDP. You know, so regarding to whatever is happening inside of that party and everybody, pitching their tent to ADC. Well, we get to ascertain that. If you follow us up right here. Of
course. And of course, we have CeeCee Em here, Afia TV and radio sports presenter. How are you doing, CeeCee?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good.
How was your show this morning? Hot off the press.
Yeah, it was splendid. So much has been happening in the world of sports. And I mean, it's dynamic, very, very dynamic. And the fact that we always have something to talk about because sports is one of the most important aspects of the news reportage. I mean, it's great. It was a great show today.
Sorry, let me cut you off a bit.
Okay.
What's the future of Osimhen? What's his future right
now? Osimhen, looking at the crystal ball will be very, very difficult to deduce. But Osimhen, as it stands right now, he's been recalled to Napoli. His parent club is Napoli.
But is it true that they are taking him to be training with the youth team?
Yes, it's very true because he wasn't initially part of the plans of Antonio Conte, the manager of Napoli. But now with the transfer saga that's ongoing, Osimhen still, since the transfer window is still open, has a number of suitors, one or two suitors, not as many would have expected. But pending the time it happens, he has to be part of the training with his parent club. So that's why.
A personality like Osimhen's status, any manager would want to fix him in the team, whether or not there was plan for another. So why relegate him down to the youth team to train and tell us you've composed your team already and he's not part of the plan? Well, is there anything fishy there?
Well, there may be something fishy because there's been no love lost between Osimhen himself and Napoli. It's been lingering for the past couple of seasons now. The reason that he went on loan to the Galatasaray was because he fell out with the Napoli hierarchy. There was a gentleman's agreement that they had. Aurelio De Laurentiis, the owner of Napoli, seemed to renege on that agreement, and then Osimhen was not happy about that, and as a result, he was treated like a mere commodity. It was a messy situation, but he just had to salvage his season by going on loan to Galatasaray, and he's being worshipped like a god in Galatasaray. But Napoli wants to remind him that he's still their employee, and they'll put him in his place. So that's basically what it is.
All right. Away from sports now, let's head into political news and stuff making the rounds this morning as well. Beginning from Nigerian Tribune, PDP, APC bigwigs take over ADC, that's African Democratic Congress. As party emerges coalition's choice, Mark Aregbesola named chairman, secretary, Oyegun CPC caucus in APC join Wosu's NWC disowns publicity secretary. Tinubu leading Nigeria to creeping dictatorship. This is according to David Mark. Constitution Review, reps receive 46 states, 117 local government areas state creation bills. 6 citizens impute during zonal public hearing in 12 centers nationwide. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Edo governorship election case. 47% of Northwest lacks access to financial services, according to a minister. Mokwa flood, 500 confirmed dead, over 600 still missing. Reps say raise alarm over possible disease outbreak in IDP camps affected areas. On the Punch, 2027 elections, Atiku Obi Mark launch ADC to unseat Tinubu. Over 20 ex-governors, ex-APC, PDP bigwigs, Buhari's ministers join coalition. ADC faction rejects takeover. Nigeria must review 2025 budget to avert crisis, IMF warns. Marketers rally for refineries privatization as $3 billion repairs falter. U.S. jails France-based Nigerian 41 months for $8 million fraud. Reps seek emergency relief for Niger Kwara flood victims. On the Daily Times, Why we chose ADC to fight Tinubu's civilian dictatorship, Mark speaks. Customs seizes 67.8 million naira contraband in Adamawa, Taraba. 2025 Hajj, NACON concludes pilgrims return from Saudi Arabia. Nigeria seeks UN Swedish support for tax reforms Security Council seat. Reps embark on zonal hearings on constitutional review. No illegal detention facility in Ebonyi Old Government House, says governor's aide. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Edo governorship election appeal. I'm moving on straight to Daily Trust. 2027 coalition adopts ADC. PDP threatens to sanction members promoting group. In reprisal, gunmen kill 15 persons in Sokoto. Ex-student sentenced to death by hanging for killing teacher. Experts disagree with IMF over 3.4% GDP growth forecast. Man arrested after sneaking into bank to hijack systems. To hack systems, I beg your pardon. Man arrested after sneaking into bank to hack systems. Missing Mokwa flood victims presumed dead, according to lawmakers. 6 killed, many injured as bandits vigilantes clash in Kwara. On The Guardian, anxiety over PDP's future as ADC excites aggrieved politicians. Nigeria's oil sector sees fresh $18.2 billion investment. Shell hints at $8 billion FID. Federal government raises consent over 75% desertification in northern states. Oti Adeleke shun coalition APC as Okechukwu warns Nigerians of political hawks. PDP threatens sanctions on members demarketing party. National Assembly faces gridlock as reps halt consideration of Senate bills. And lastly here, Mokwa flood, lawmakers warn of disease outbreak in Niger.
Also from Nigerian News Direct, oil prices, IMF urges FG to review 2025 budget outlook, warns of fiscal vulnerability. Forecasts 3.4% economic growth for Nigeria in 2025. Calls for sustained tight monetary policy, robust FX reform. $1.4 trillion upstream investment required to avoid global market deficit, says OPEC. Residents, motorists rejoice as Sanwo-Olu commissions Abaranje Dopemu Road, says over 28 new roads under construction across Alimosho. Oyo government partners FCMB to empower 1,000 youths with 1.5 billion naira as state attracts over 46.6 billion naira investments under Makinde, says Oyo SADAG DG, by the way. Oboji killings. Fish out killers or risk interstate reprisal, says Ohaneze to Soludo. 2027 El Rufai, Atiku, P2B, other juggernauts join ADC to take down Tinubu. Lastly, right here on Nigerian News Direct, Nigeria to end diesel dependency with integrated hybrid energy, says VP Shetima. The Nation. Mark Aregbesola take over of ADC sparks chairman's anger. Mark Aregbesola take over of ADC sparks chairman's anger. Nigeria UN Capital Development Fund to sign interest-free loans pact. Once you can surrender party, Atiku, Obi, Amechi, others at event. Inside The Nation, you can catch this on page 2 and page 4. Ex-presidential candidate Kachukwu owns Atiku, other opposition forces. OT distances himself from anti-Tinubu alliance. Defectors will rush back to PDP, says Damagun Wike. There are spy politicians. A hostile takeover of ADC, says analysts. Nigerian professionals for Caribbean. President meets Nigerian community in St. Lucia. Lastly, Oboji killing, Anambra, Ebonyi governments want perpetrators brought to justice. And moving over to Vanguard. 2027, Atiku, Obi, Amechi, El-Rufai takes over ADC. Kachukwu, NWC members, other stakeholders kick over party takeover. ADC chairman secretary resigned for David Mark. Aregbesola. Tinubu fiddling with Nigeria. I beg your pardon. Tinubu fiddling while Nigeria burns, says Mark. Adds renewed hope has turned renewed hopelessness. Coalition in talks with some northern governors, says source. Why I resigned from APC, says Amechi. Adds Nigeria is destroyed. PDP warns defectors. I support coalition with, but will remain in PDP, attributed to Lamido. And Adeleke not joining coalition. Oshun PDP chair says hunger, inflation, fueling insecurity. Methodist prelate tells Tinubu review 2025 budget. IMF tells FG. Man DG to FG, sell Warri Port Harcourt refineries orders now. And lastly, right here, Senate to CBN, your policies have improved economy. Moving over to Salient Times. Coalition. David Mark, Aregbesola take reins as Ex-Adc national chair hands over. Coalition will stop Nigeria from becoming one-party state, says David Mark. Why we settled for ADC, attributed to David Mark. And Damagun woos Atiku Mark orders back to PDP. Man kills mother over land dispute in Enugu community. Alleged 27 billion naira fraud. Witness tell court how ex-Taraba governor Ishaku collected allowances. And court sentences man to death for gruesome murder of 3-year-old. IMF urges Nigeria to cut 2025 budget on oil prices drop. Oil production. Tinubu orders reactivation of dormant oil fields. And lastly, right here on Salient Times, petrol marketers reduce fuel price nationwide. And lastly, Platform Times. NMA rejects FG's new salaries circular. Issues 21-day ultimatum over poor welfare on Met agreement. Sanusi warns legal profession risk station in tech-driven era. Over 200 Boko Haram fighters' families surrender in Lake Chad region. Opposition coalition vows to stop Nigeria from becoming one-party state. Truck rushes police inspector to death at Ogun checkpoint. Sell Port Harcourt refineries now. They are draining Nigeria. Man DG says IMF raises alarm on rising poverty, hunger despite FG's policy reforms. And EFCC arrests 18 in Ogun cybercrime raid. Recovers US military IDs, foreign currency. Lastly, right here, organized labor calls for suspension of contributory pension scheme over 82 billion naira debts in Ogun.
All right, thank you, Oji. So many headlines, and we're not seeing much ribbon cutting today, so that's fantastic. Let's begin with Nigerian Tribune, CeeCee. PDP APC bigwigs take over ADC. We're seeing ADC has finally come to light. They've unveiled Senator David Mark as their chairman. They have their secretary now, and it's something that is real. It is now standing as a party set to overthrow, or shall we say, unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027. They are driven by the mandate that they don't want Nigeria to turn to a one-party state. They want credible opposition to exist in the country. But you're also seeing a faction of the ADC breakout saying that they were not consulted. Critical stakeholders were not consulted before what they described as political merchants took over the party. So you're already seeing that factional build-up, in the party. What's your take on this coalition? What are your, shall we say, permutations on their ability to fulfill their mandate of unseating the incumbent president in the next 2 years?
Well, thank you once again, Nat'L, and Oji, thank you very much for having me. It's, we have very interesting times ahead of us in Nigeria, in the Nigerian political landscape. And when you talk about the coalition, it's long overdue. Actually, first of all, a coalition is needed. It was needed because the truth of the matter is that APC, the All Progressives Congress, the current ruling party that has been in power for the past, I think this is now 10 years. 10 years. They've been in power for the past 10 years. They were birthed as a coalition themselves. They're being spearheaded by the current president himself, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He led that coalition, so a merging of different parties. But the worry, which is part of what I feel informed the coalition that's being formed now, that's ADC, which is now the credible coalition that's there. The worry is that, APC, from the allegations that are coming there, is threatening to turn Nigeria to a one-party state, and that's making it no better than a communist setting, that like a socialist country where just one party rules, so everything just goes down the drain. But the dynamism of a political party is seen, or rather a ruling party, where there is credible opposition. Now, since they are not being given room to have credible opposition, you don't have pressure groups, you don't have proper opposition. PDP is basically, I think they're in their death throes right now. I just have to say it, because that's the reality on ground.
PDP you think that PDP is in the gallows? Yeah,
they're in the gallows. Actually, I think, not even the gallows, I think they're under the guillotine, because their necks are about to be cut off. Yeah, it's even worse, because as it is right now, a house divided against itself can never stand. Yes. And that's part of what's killed PDP.
So who is sowing the seed of discord?
Is it just one party, one person? No, not just one person. There have been many people sowing those seeds of discord. I know that all eyes will be looking at the FCT right now. That's
I don't need to stopped intentionally at the FCT. I mean, there are many things to look at in the FCT, right?
Precisely, so interpret that anyhow you choose to. But when you check it, the decline started a long time ago. When APC took over power, I remember vividly that there were two factions in the PDP. You had the Ali Modu Sharif faction, and then I'm trying to remember his colleague, and they battled for months regarding who was the legitimate party chairman. And this is my own school of thought, because there was no proof that was there. But one of the factors, particularly Ali Modu Sharif, according to the allegations, I'm not the one accusing him, but according to the allegations that are leveled there, that he was a mole planted by the APC to disrupt PDP. So you have many fifth columnists that are in PDP, and they've been killing the party from inside. You can't really get so much damage done from the external, but internally you have many saboteurs that are there. And of course, you've seen many of them decamp to APC. I don't need to call names. They've decamped to APC, and they've talked about the rots that PDP caused over the last few years when they were part of the rots themselves. So it's all power play. Politics is all about power play. Now, my concern, first of all, I said that it's long overdue. Having a coalition is long overdue. Forces that are gathered together. But any coalition that is not built on the principle of unity, oneness of heart, oneness of purpose, oneness of assignment, is an accident going somewhere to happen. That's my worry. That's my concern, seeing the factions that are there. Stakeholders saying that they were not consulted. Others seem to have hijacked the party. And then you're looking at people with different ideologies. And then one thing about, this is one more point I want to make regarding this, which I hope the current coalition must have looked at and considered and done their homework before. When APC was formed, it was decided that there was going to be, yes, we already had the leader, the de facto leader of the APC, who was President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Then he was still Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, past governor of Lagos State. But he was the figurehead that was in charge, not figurehead, rather, the actual leader of APC. But they chose a candidate that was perceived as a man of integrity. They chose a candidate that was a no-nonsense man who had already ruled Nigeria before. I'm referring to the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who was the military president back then from December 31st, 1983 till August 1985. So his track record had been there. You insult him all you want to do, but at least then, the time he spent as president, he revealed a semblance, a semblance of integrity and toughness and the ability to take decisions. So he was seen as the symbol that would unify that party, and people rallied around him. My concern right now with these schisms and factions in ADC is, who is that person? What role? Like, everybody knows that I'm not talking about credible opposition party now. I'm talking about the credible opposition personality. Everybody knows that the person that has given the APC a run for their money in terms of credibility as an opponent is an individual. I'm referring to His Excellency Peter Obi. Now, based on this, where do his cards fall as far as this coalition is concerned? If it's not Obi that's being promoted or projected as the symbol of unity in this current coalition, ADC, who is it? Is it El-Rufai, Nasser El-Rufai? Obviously, it's not David Mark because he's the chairman. You cannot be the chairman and be the flag bearer. You get the point I'm trying to make.
Position now.
Yeah,
placeholder.
Yeah, a placeholder. But the reality on ground is this: these are things they should have considered. Which person, which candidate projects that level of credibility and integrity that will go toe to toe with the APC? Yes, they are the ruling party. They have their own flaws. They also have their own machineries. Which person as an individual will have everybody rally around them to defeat APC? No, I have a lot of thoughts along those lines, but this is my own primary concern. If they are divided at this stage, come, I think that should be February 2027, we're in for yet another story of, the ruling party continuing because the opposition have shot themselves in the foot. So really, that's my concern about this.
And a valid concern as well.
Let's talk about the cracks on the wall, because that's how it starts. We can also have this conversation when LP was the thing, and boom, somewhere, Abure is the national chairman, somewhere we saw Papa, all those tools. Yeah. Now, we are experiencing the same thing, just how many days now, right? Some faction telling the party that, no, we people don't consult us, and why are these people hijacking our party and all that. Do you see these futuristic, that this might be the crack the opposition would want to use to dismantle whatever plan is for this coalition? Already these disgruntled gentlemen, saying that we can't come and hijack our party, Kachukwu and co and all that, right? Do you kind of see that this might be that straw
that's
going to break the camel's back?
Well, first of all, I would start by eliminating that word might. I think it definitely is the major crack that they will want to leverage on the opposition. And, I can't remember who said this, but a very wise man made a statement one day. He said, never interrupt your opponent when he's making a mistake. And if APC is wise, they'll be observing this. That's if they didn't engineer it in the first place. Back to this issue of fifth columnists and saboteurs. But if they didn't engineer this, I think they'll just sit back and maybe grab some popcorn and some a soft drink of their choice or hard drink, whatever it is, and sit back and watch the drama unfold, because those cracks are there. Anytime there's disunity, anytime there's lack of harmony, anytime there's no oneness, anytime you have dissenting voices and these things are not quelled on time, as and when due, then definitely there'll be cracks. And APC, if there's anything they're known for leveraging on cracks. And that's something they do very, very well. So I think the ADC need to get their house in order and make sure they have one voice. As it stands, it's too early to be divisive. It's too early to be divided. It's too early to speak from both sides of the mouth and then not rally around certain figures as the ones that should cheer or should champion the cause. Because as it is right now, they have one primary ideology. Because that's my problem with Nigerian parties. Nigerian parties are really built on ideologies. You look at the United States of America, you have two major political parties. You have the Republicans and the Democrats. These parties are built on ideologies. The Democrats, once you're a Democrat, for instance, you're known as a progressive. You're known as somebody who's a liberal in many ways. So you like to think outside the box and then think about freedom. But you talk about the Republicans. Once you join the Republicans, no matter what your stance may be, everybody knows that you're more conservative. So basically, Nigerian parties don't have ideologies. They just have interests. So I think the ADC needs to get that right, first of all. They have to fix the rot that is there that we're seeing before it becomes a full-blown terminal disease. And that will be what will make APC keep licking their lips come February 2027.
But regarding the individuals, the big wigs there, championing this cause, right? Do you think Nigerians would want to trust them, regarding their track records in the political sphere, right? Yeah, some of them are the people that actually brought in Muhammadu Buhari, and we saw how that went on and all that. And boom, we are experiencing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now. Well, it's all the way in St. Lucia, and so many things are happening at his backyard, So, do you think Nigerians would trust these individuals to propel or carry them and take over or unseat the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you think Nigerians will trust these men regarding their track records?
I'm going to say something that may not sit down well with too many Nigerians, but I like to tell the truth. I like to speak truth to power. I like to say things as I see them. You know, call a spade, not a garden implement. Nigerians tend to be very gullible. Nigerians tend to be very fickle. And then, you know, they'll come with strong convictions. I'm generalizing. Of course, we have a few good men. We have a good number of people who are strong men and women of conviction who stand their ground and insist on the right thing, not minding whose ox is gored. But the vast majority of us look where the money goes and where the power goes, and then they have a price tag. It's just a question of how much, you know. So when you talk about the individuals that that have, you know, should I say, disturbing credentials, let's just put it that way. You look at this coalition, for instance, and you can't help but wonder why someone like Malam Nasir El-Rufai, for instance, is there with his antecedents.
Okay, but the internet went agog yesterday, seeing him and Peter Obi, you know, holding hands, and you know, when that picture went viral, and everyone was like, "Oh, finally, so these two men can actually," after all being said, after all the utterances and all that, right? Well, go ahead with your thoughts.
No, that's pretty basically what politics is. Yeah. Politics, in politics, you know, you have neither friends nor foes. You just have you have neither friends nor enemies. You have only allies and foes, and then common interests. That's what happens in the corridors of power as far as politics is concerned. If we speak the same voice regarding a target that we have, we put aside our differences and then try to channel that. But at the end of the day, those are the differences that we have, and then the unity. Sometimes I think one of the things that is worse than disunity is superficial unity. That's my concern. Because of his antecedents, I'm not trying to single him out like one major villain, but your reputation precedes you. The role he played in bringing in, just like you pointed out, bringing in President Muhammadu Buhari, the whole role he played in unseating President Goodluck Jonathan, and then also the role that he allegedly, I'm going to have to emphasize on that word, allegedly played in bringing in the insecurity in the country, where Boko Haram came in and all the other bandits. Let me try to be politically correct for once. The bandits and all that we're seeing, the leverage you gave, the roles that you allegedly played. Sometimes the internet does not forgive and forget. Nigerians who all have access to this information, they rarely give and forget, unless of course they have their own personal interests, which is back to that issue of Nigerians being gullible and fickle and having a price tag. So really, the morals, the unscrupulous nature of some of these individuals that are involved in this ADC should be a cause for concern under normal circumstances. In saner climes, in the Nigerian political space, we hardly have sane climes, unfortunately.
Right. Okay, let me come in there. Now, we are seeing another side of things where, well, let's call it the presidency's media force is referring to those people who are part of the coalition as desperate. People just trying to come together, retired politicians looking for a party to advocate their interests. We're also seeing a case where an Abuja hotel went ahead and cancelled a paid booking. They were meant to have the meeting at that hotel, and the events had to be carried out somewhere else because this hotel, the Wells Carlton, cancelled their booking due to what they refer to as, let me get the exact, well, it wasn't really a clear explanation, but they did say something. It was more of an internal compliance matter.
Okay.
Right. Do you think there was some sort of political interference, or was it just an internal compliance matter?
No. The internal compliance matter is the smoke screen that we always know about. It's clearly a smoke screen. It's a red herring. Everybody knows that the puppet is seen, but the puppet master is not seen. So the puppet masters have done their job. We know that. Those of us who have a knowledge of politics know that there are forces that are involved that are pulling the strings and then calling the shots, naturally. Because if you're going to do anything that will undermine my footing, my solid footing, I'm going to do whatever I can, maybe from a political standpoint, to unsettle you. Now, I just hope they got their refund. That's one other thing there. But other than that, they should have anticipated this. They are politicians. They're all veteran politicians. For you to call them retired politicians, which many of them are not, it shows that, for you to have retired from a venture, it means that you're an OG. Let me use that term, OG, in that venture. You understand the tricks of the trade. So they are supposedly retired politicians. They know what politics is all about. So I'm sure they should have anticipated that. I want to believe that they even had a contingency plan, maybe plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and so on and so forth, in terms of hotels and accommodations that will host their meetings, whether the open meetings or the clandestine meetings. So it's not a surprise to me at all, but definitely if you strike federal might strikes you back. That's all I'll say.
Should a hotel be bending to federal might? I mean, I believe it's a private business, so I mean, they will want to prioritize their own longevity, if I can put it that way. But should they be interfered with? I mean, I understand that a hotel like that to be picked because sometimes the medium is the message. You want it to be carried out in a luxury environment that shows that you all are doing well, and it passes a stronger message than even imagine going to a little empty room and having it looks like you guys are not serious. But then when you have it at a hotel like the World Council, yes, it's the packaging pro max. So I mean, we can't say for sure what happened because even the hotel was not specific. But if a reservation has been made, fully paid for, why would a hotel want to refund, hopefully, the sum of money?
Okay, I think there are two reasons, or we could say three, but some of those reasons some reasons are possible, some seem more probable than others. If a hotel, for instance, considering the political climate that we find ourselves in, has an event booked down and they've received their payment, and then an announcement has been made, and then next thing they renege on that agreement, maybe they refund, maybe they don't. We don't know about those internal workings. Just think for a minute. Let's assume that hotel decided to just damn the consequences and go ahead and hold that event. It won't be a surprise to many if, for instance, the FCT comes out and then talks about ground rent and a number of other things, lack of compliance in the laws of the land, and then maybe that hotel is razed to the ground and things like that. And then you just wonder what happened, how did that come about? Maybe unknown persons, different things, like something similar to what happened to Peter Obi's brother, his property that was leveled the ground. There was no credible reason for his property that stood there for 15 years. Other than what many would assume, maybe his filial connection to Peter Obi. So some of these things, we know how dirty politics can be. Then the other reason could be that the owners, the stakeholders of the hotel are stakeholders in the ruling party, and they would not want to run afoul of the ruling party, and because it would be like a conflict of interest. Why would I be a member, a stakeholder in the ruling party? Like you might have some media houses that do that maybe keep their voices down when it comes to speaking the truth to power. They tone it down a bit because table manners, you have to observe table manners wherever you are. So I feel that could be one of the reasons. These are two key reasons.
Very key reasons indeed.
So The Guardian, we're still talking about politics and the coalition, ADC. And also, this says Otsi Adeleke Sean's coalition, APC, as Okechukwu warns Nigerians of political hawks. We know the connection when you talk about Alex Otsi. Well, you see Peter Obi there. When you talk about Peter Obi, you see Alex Otsi there. But he's simply not interested. Well, we're yet to hear and all that, right? Though the chair for talking about Adeleke said that he is not interested in the coalition. Now also, PDP threatens sanctions on members demarketing the party. I'm just trying to connect this. Adeleke, Otsi, aligning with these, as they call them, political hawks, right? In this coalition, and the vehicle, which is ADC, has been affirmed and all that. And PDP threatening members demarketing the party. Is this not a case of a toothless bulldog barking? But Wike, he's been doing that all along, and nobody in the PDP is pointing fingers at him, telling him that you're demarketing the party and you're causing and making this party weak and all that stuff. So why bring up this conversation when the almighty Nyesom Wike, he's been doing this and nothing has been done to him?
Well, basically, I think you have to look at the stature of Nyesom Wike, for instance. Now, he's, in terms of politics in Nigeria, let's call it spade a spade. Let's tell the truth. He's larger than life in many respects. That's why he could do certain things and get away with it, And but it's not a case of selecting sacred cows. That's not what I'm trying to say. I think it's a case of, like we said at the start, I said specifically that PDP is experiencing dying throes, and rightly so, because you're not seeing a lot of life and dynamism in the party. They are eroding every single day, unfortunately. They didn't set their house in order. They didn't play their cards right. And now they are watching their demise. They're actually watching their obituary. And naturally, if you've been by the deathbed of someone before, a loved one, like I have, my mom passed. I was there when she was gasping, giving her last breath. So if you're at the deathbed of someone, thank you very much. No, but if you're at the deathbed of a dear one, for instance, you see that person is trying to cling on to life, like a drowning man clutching at straws. And I think that's exactly what PDP is doing right now. They are clutching at straws, still trying to show a semblance of might that they think they still have. So if they are threatening sanctions, from where to where? Who are they going to sanction? Who are they going to penalize? If your ship is sinking, they say if the ship is sinking, then abandon ship. So this ship is a sinking ship. It has been a sinking ship for a very long time. So you won't be surprised if it's not like it's the Titanic where the captain decided to go down with the ship. Not everybody plans to go down because they don't want to commit what I call political seppuku. They want to still retain political relevance. And PDP will not be the platform to give political relevance because of all that has happened over the last few years.
So, what's your take on the Osun State Governor Adeleke and also the Abia State Governor Ex-Adc, regarding the coalition and them apparently, for now, they're not interested or aligning with those legion?
Very smart men. I commend them for that. They are very, very wise, very smart. Governor Ex-Adc of Abia State, a very, very wise man. Governor Adeleke of Osun State, Davido's uncle, very wise man. And the reason being that, you're going to try to be as neutral as possible in this matter. So you guys are doing your thing. Look, I'm here to take a stand regarding my own convictions. I'm not going to jump ship or maybe just be seen as someone who's fickle. These are men who have come out in the recent past to praise the reforms of President Tinubu, to speak good about what's been happening. Yes, they've also had their reservations regarding how the system, all the sectors of society have been running, particularly the economy. The economy could get better. But for them to come out and start attacking the presidency, because when you join the coalition, you're essentially taking a side and saying that you're against the presidency.
Okay, let's shift away from the political gimmicks now to actual governance. For people that are leaving the PDP to join the APC, for instance, and judging by the fact that lots of people, while the presidency maintains APC's kind of leadership is yielding results, there are many Nigerians that feel very upset about how things are going. They don't think that they're getting richer, they think they're getting poorer.
Yes.
For those good men that are from other parties that have to leave because of the crisis, do you see their kind of governance changing as a result of what the APC is currently being associated with in terms of the hardship of Nigerians in many quarters?
Well, it will be naive to say that that's not the case. Because naturally, whenever you join the ruling party, if you join the ruling party, and the ruling party unfortunately has a reputation for being associated with hardship, because the first few years of the ruling party, when they took over, they spent a lot of time, I think years, deviating from the issues, attacking the opposition. They seem to forget that they were once the opposition. So they are attacking the opposition there, because then they forgot that because when they were the opposition, they were attacking the ruling party. So for a while, they kept on doing that. Then maybe they said, hey, hold on, we're the ruling party. Let's try and see what we can do to give a semblance of control and a semblance of competence when it comes to governance. Now, it has affected many who have joined, because APC, and I'm saying this with all humility and all respect to the powers that be, because people have different reasons. You can't just, when you get into a place, you don't just do your own thing. You have to abide by the rules and regulations of your new organization, your new party, your new setting. And I'm sure that many of these governors had some wonderful ideas on what to do. But APC, with all due respect to the All Progressive Congress, they have failed to convince me, for instance, me, a Nigerian citizen that I am, they failed to convince me of a viable and credible blueprint regarding the way forward. I've not seen anything.
All right.
So, okay.
I mean, we're out of time now, CeeCee, but we'll continue this conversation. I mean, it's a long, well, not a long week yet.
Just
but we
started,
still
actually.
have Friday, yes.
The conversation just started.
Yes.
You know, because I was waiting for that definition of where the vehicle we are going to use to propel the elections come 2027. Is it going to be the Ada, by the way, which, you know, we
and that just got a few minutes. Okay, Oji, we really have to.
ADC is the vehicle right now. So now the conversation and all the back and
has
forth
started. Okay, you have said it started now. Thank you so much, CeeCee, and thank you, Oji, for your valid analysis.
Thank you.
And the sports update at the beginning as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, the morning show returns in just seconds. We delve into regional stories, and don't forget at 9 a.m. prompt we'll be discussing the fate of the Southeast People's Democratic Party. The morning show returns in just seconds. Stay tuned.